All right, everyone. So I'm recording this right now, right after having found out that the last video I posted, the microphone was not working, and I went back and looked at anything I had already recorded, and sure enough, the next three turns, uh, not rounds, but turns, the mic also was not working, and I did not realize it. So thank you again, guys, for saying something when something was not working so I could correct it. But rather than just post the videos with no commentary at all, I am going to do my best to commentate and skip through the videos a little bit to give a rundown of US4 through Russia 6 and give you my thoughts, hopefully, that I was having as I was going through it without giving away anything, or at least not too much of what actually ends up happening. So this is going to be my best approach at making the best out of a not good situation. So I do apologize about my snafu. I think the screen recorder did an update, and when it did, it disconnected my microphone recording. So my microphone was on, but the studio wasn't recording from it. So in any case, here we go. First part. So we're jumping into US4. A couple of my comments from before. I knew I wasn't going to be able to dead zone West Russia. I knew they were going to be coming back into there, and I made this 3-1. Technically, he could have hit it with Japan, but it would have been costly because there'd been a lot of air with the AA. So that was my way of trying to preserve ground. So I was happy that Japan turn did not attack Kaza there at all. And of course, I used my U.S. and Russia in here to stack India. I was super happy with how that Africa battle went. Um, I was glad to get the German units out of there, but super happy to have my infantry and tank both survive as well. So that was a great result. Yes, that one infantry, one artillery versus one infantry, one artillery was great dice for me too. And yes, I was missing having a second fighter at that point. For the comments about the taking that battle. The the reason I didn't use more is because I was very thin, and I'm very thin still in Russia, and I don't want to get myself too thin as the German units are still pouring in this way. When I opened that one round, I was like, oh my goodness, how huge has Germany gotten? So the good news is we're starting to see a little bit of traction. We're taking away Africa. They're pulling into West Russia, so we should start to be able to retract their income back in, and we're going to go from there. So I'm going to play it. I'm going to kind of talk as we go along here. So obviously we can see his build, and we know he's put a destroyer up here because I had my sub over there, and obviously he came down, brought his transport down, brought the ground again to Burma. He's just trading away at Burma, and then came back up here, pulled units over, and I fully expect these to come back to Burma the next turn, but I gotta be mindful. This was the good news: is he lost a fighter clearing out that destroyer down here in India. So yay this time. So two destroyers for one fighter. I'll take that in this type of battle actually. So I was happy to see that. Um, so yeah, so here, the main thing I was going at is I can stack India another turn, but I also am at the realization right now that uh, he's going to be able to most likely come into Caucasus and stack that with Germany next turn. So if I stay and stack India, I may get stuck here. But the thing then I was then going through, so here I was talking about the fact that I'm expecting him to come in to Caucasus, or could come into Caucasus to make it awkward. I did count that I can stack India. I don't need my tank and fighter to stack India, so I can pull them back at least. So I can get them out of there. And one of the things that I end up deciding is I only got but a few ground units down here, or infantry down here in AA. So if they get caught, it's not like I'm losing a ton of people. Whereas I do have a lot of fighters and tanks that can do multiple movements and can dodge around. Because I really wanted one more round of holding Japan back to let the U.S. get situated in Africa to defend there ultimately. Can I not see the preview? I was making a comment there that he has very few troops still through China, so he's still got a weak spot there. And then he left all these territories open, which I do plan on go ahead and taking, and give his bombers more targets to have to hit than aiming at my my navy anymore. I was tired of him aiming at my navy. Um, and then this was just me saying, although I expected him to continue to press India, especially if I stack it again, I needed to be mindful of I've got no units over here ready to counter an Alaskan attack, and he's got two transports there, which could cause trouble. And I can't, last turn I had my sub there, so the transport couldn't attack. Now, obviously, he can, so I'm going to have to do something about that. So we're talking about all the income that the U.S. is about to grab, and we're excited about that. And we're going to skip forward on here a little bit. Planning out multiple steps ahead. So again, purchasing enough infantry to hopefully keep the shucks going. My whole transport, because of that, when you had the bombers on Northwest Europe, it did mess up things, the whole transport chain. And I did kind of expect him to attack C Zone 3 last turn, so I didn't really account for good mechanics for picking up the units for that. So you can see we're going to have 3 transports here, and we've got only 4 American units there for them. So I'm going to have to pull one of those transports on around to C Zone 11 to pick up some of them. And then I did want to go ahead and get to Norway factory, because I just like having Norway factory, especially with them building all these German air, so that I can drop U.S. boats when needed into, was that 3, 5, and 6? I wanted to go ahead and do two unit drops everywhere, make him have to work hard to get these, since he only has the 4 bombers and a few artillery in there, and I want to really make him have to turn around and stop pushing to the east is my plan here. And come on past me. I don't know how many times you are like, come on, speed it up, stop talking so much. It's hard because I know the next steps, and I don't want to give away what's going to happen in the upcoming turns. Da, da, da. Always. I don't think I had any dice rolls on here, right? They were all free takes. Yeah, that was really nice. That it was just all that income was just free income too. I didn't have to roll any dice for any of it. And I was glad, in the previous turn, I thought a lot about where to put this fighter, because I didn't want it to get a cheap shot by bombers, but I wanted it to be close enough where it could get over to India and help out. So this now gives me 2 infantry, as well as 4 other units for my 2 transports in here. So I got some that I can work with. Maneuvering. If you remember, I built 6 infantry. I think I might have a transport in there too, we'll see. This was me trying to decide where do I take him, because the bomber, I didn't have coverage here anymore. So knowing that eventually Japan's going to come through, I decided to go ahead and come on down here where it's safe and start dropping some units there. And again here, knowing a fighter can reach India, so if I want to continue to stack, I can put him there, because the carrier really couldn't go anywhere important yet, and that fighter can still fly back to either these 2 sea zones, which I might come back to, and as I move my carrier in. And I'm building a fighter And that fighter, wherever the carrier goes, this fighter will go 1-2 and land on that carrier wherever it goes next turn. But at this point, I really like having Japan just keep bundling up their units down here. So I like the idea of stacking India. So even though I know that they're getting ready to move to the Caucasus, I decided to stay down there and just minimize my losses out of it. We can keep Japan bottled in the southeast. That's great for me. I had to get my sub safe. I'm sure I'm saying some important stuff there. I just don't remember what it was. So I'll skip on ahead here to get to Russia. I did talk a little bit about if he moved his Japan Navy in there, that we've got a lot of air that we could probably take him out at this point. Oh, that's right. It was a factory I built. So the 2 extra are for my transport over off of France. That's right. So I got 4 for these guys, 2 for this guy coming back. We are trying to do our best to dead zone because I already knew, like I said, that the Caucasus was going to be very close. So we were building some artillery to dead zone it as much as we can. And again, using just 1 infantry because I need as much of the ground back as I can have. At the same point, start taking that German income back away. Dice rolls are always fun, so we'll let the dice rolls go. I don't even remember how this went. There we go. The important thing, we hit the guy. We're just wanting to get as many of Japan's units away from the center of the board as possible. And this was that's right. That last turn and this turn, I had nice dice rolls and all the little trades and such. You know, both on his side and my side, I had finally had some dice going my way a little bit. Not like the big dice like he had in the beginning, but some decent trades, which were helping me get a little bit more confidence back into this game. Although I'm still very worried about how big Germany is. This is me just balancing out to make this as unappetizing as possible, especially since I'm bringing a tank in there because I really don't want him to attack it. But also I needed to make sure I didn't make this too vulnerable because he does have his 4 bombers plus all these units, and so we were actually Moscow is a very I was giving him higher odds than I would like on a capital at this point. And that should be it. Oh yeah, a war report. So here we got it to 25. This was after Russia had deployed their units, which I forget was what 5 infantry, 2 artillery. So that's what like 9. So really, it's about a 34 attack power difference there. He's doing pretty good, pretty decent at 84 income because of that high income that Germany's been having. Thankfully, I still have overall more income, but divided amongst 3 countries. I think that's it for this one. So, let's see. That was... Da, 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 da. Russia 5, so we are looking for UK 5. That's the next one. Trying to figure out which reel comes next here. So UK 5 popping up. Here we go. Uh, Again, I didn't preview this at all, so I'm trying to remember where exactly we were. So Germany, he did take all those. He failed down. Oh, I can't click on the board. He failed down here in the Southeast Europe, and of course he did stack Caucasus as I was kind of expecting, worried about. I lost track of where this tank came from. He built a tank actually and put it up there. I was wondering where he got another tank from. Um, but otherwise, you can see he did all those trades. And so now I know that Persia is going to be treacherous. Now this is the key part that I started looking at is Caucasus here. I can take my two transports. I can grab a U.S. infantry and these two and the battleship and hit here. And all the Russians by themselves hitting there, it's like 50-50 if he flies in his fighter, his tank, and his bombers. It's like I want to say it's like a 50-50 shot there. But of course he's got an AA there, and I only got one fighter left. So what I was talking about is I want to use my battleship to take out that AA, and then hopefully maybe take out one more unit just to make it a little bit better. If those other four can get one hit, I'm not going to take any of my airplanes into there because I don't want my air force to get destroyed. But just doing the battleship and two transports, if we can just take a little bit out of here, then that's going to help um, these guys potentially. So, but then I also said we can wait till after Japan goes because we got to see what Japan does anyways, and we got to take care of UK. UK obviously could not uh, attack this time into the front here, so no strafing this time. But we can still defend. That was the one thing that did come up, is I could still defend there. So I am putting 3 infantry down there and then building units, 4 other units, plus a transport to get up to 3 transports over here and have this war to start hitting the coast. Certainly, I'm understanding. Like you can see, I keep coming back to Caucasus because I know this is center of the board. It's a key point, key position here. I did say that even though he killed these guys, I'm gonna go ahead and drop some infantry up here, make him blitz a tank and some bombers, and I'm gonna have other things. So maybe he can't take it, or he does take it. If he sends a tank, then I'll be able to drop transports on it and kill the tank. So I'm feeling okay with building some infantry up there. That's where the other 2 infantry I built are supposed to go. So yeah, I did go through what his combats here, all the different combats, but more importantly, undefended. Down here in Finland, he lost 2 infantry and 1 artillery versus my 3 and 1. I said, I'll take that. That's a win for me, even though I lost 1 more infantry. In general, the defending country, Germany, because this is killed Germany first, needs to kill 1.5 for every 1 they lose. So they needed to kill 4.5 to be breaking even, and they only killed 4. So that's a slight win for me. Northwest Europe was definitely a win for me because he lost 2, I lost 2. I'm perfectly happy with that. And then um, France, of course, that was his win. Italy, 2 for 1, slightly his favor, slightly his win. But the big thing was down here, Southern Europe, I was going to get down to. He lost 3 infantry. I lost nobody. So I got great results down there. I'm sure he was not happy about that result. And like I said, that gives me the chance to be able to pull 1 infantry off of that for going to Caucasus if he makes that open. Otherwise, I'll be able to just move those in there and drop 4 units on Italy and or I move 1 unit and then drop 4 units on Italy and take all 3 of these territories, depending on what Japan does. So, here we go. Going into the combat move plan stage. Oh, shoot. I talked about naming the battleship, I think, in this one. This is where I named it the HMS Vanguard, which was the biggest and baddest battleship. I had to do a little Google search on that to find out where it's at. So I did some research to find out that it was the biggest battleship in World War II. So I was excited I was going to get to use them. There really was no attacking to do down there. I couldn't believe they said unlikely. That bothered me too. I'm like, what do you mean unlikely? Battleship's going to tear them up. So of course I was happy to see my battleship hit. And then seeing my tanks roll. So I did decide that, yeah, I'm probably going to go for this. And I decided, because I had to make the move now with the cruiser, if this doesn't look good, I'll just use my 4 units and a bomber to hit Ukraine instead and take out the supply lines. He moved his destroyers out of there, so I was able to move my sub closer in. So yeah, just putting infantry down there, getting some ground so that when we do come out with all that air, we'll be able to do something with it. And that's the end of that one. And we got one more video here. Let's see, to get caught back up. Oh, where'd I put it? So we're heading into US5 and Russia 6. And at this point, going through it, so we're rehashing. You can see he got another bomber and a fighter. The bomber and fighter went up in Tokyo. He put the other units down here. Well, some in Tokyo, but 2 units down there for attacking, infantry, artillery, and then the bomber fighter up there. He did not attack Alaska. He came down here to further put into Burma as I expected. And at this point, stacking really, I could have stacked one more time if I brought the tank and the fighter back and this fighter over. I could have stacked again. But as I talked through it, I really don't want to. I really want to make this move, and I've got advantage, especially since he only moved a tank. He didn't bring the fighter in there. He didn't bring the bombers in here. So now this is a good opportunity for me. I think I pulled up the calculator for the 1-2 of just the 2 transports in the battleship, followed by the Russians hitting. So this is what I'm just talking about. Yeah, so we're going to go for that. We're going to clear that AA so that it'll be safer for the Russians to hit him. The other parts I talked about, because I know it's going to get my Russian units down a little bit. So yeah, so here's our calculator. There we go. So you can see we got a 90% chance of taking at a 21 IPC profit with the the 2-round battle there. And I said, yeah, the U.S. is going to use those 4 units, so of course they're going to have a negative value, but the Russians are going to come out good. And you can see down here, the 50 percentile still has 11 units, 11 ground sitting there, which means those 5 infantry and 4 bombers aren't going to mean anything to me. So at the same point, I did want to make sure that we take out some of these other ground units so that we're not too weak in Moscow, because I did calculate out, if all the Russians end up here and we built, I think it's 6 Russians, we are going to be landing our fighters in there, and I wanted to make sure between 4 bombers, the remaining tank, and these other infantry that he couldn't kill Moscow, obviously, or follow that up with a 1 infantry and air from Japan with all these bombers he's been building. Since I'm going to be pulling out of India, he doesn't have to use them there, so they'll be free to hit here. So I needed to be really careful I didn't leave Moscow too undefended while killing this stack. So I was going to do my best to pick off these individual units around it as we go along. Built 12 infantry and a couple of transports to start increasing our units coming across the sea here. And again, I will say I did make over the last turn, and I think this turn, or the last 3 turns or so, I didn't do the best purchases, or coordinating my fleets. The 2 AAs kind of threw my whole mechanics off. I did have those 2 infantry I built for there. I decided I am still going to have them go up there because he does still have the 1 transport here that he can take Alaska, so now we'll move them on up. So, yep. Again, I want to just trade off as many of his German units as I can, make his bombers have to work. And those guys will take them. Go battleships, battleships rule. So like I said, I knew I was taking some risks here, and I was okay with these risks, with the bomber taking out that infantry and the 3 fighters taking out that infantry, because I just needed to make it as safe as possible to build, and if I lost a plane or even possibly 2, I wasn't super concerned about that, because I felt like I just needed to wipe this stack and then save Moscow for a turn, and then we'll be in pretty good shape. Stop babbling, Chris. There we go. Oh yeah, so here we go. All that red, but I mean obviously we knew that was gonna be. I was like, why they call this one implausible and the bomber versus infantry poor? Poor sounds worse than implausible to me, but whatever. The in-game calculator is kind of crazy. Here we go, good old dice time. Nice clean sweep in Northwest Europe. That was nice. And I believe I still have another one that I can bring an AA in. And then here we go. The pre-strike in Caucasus. And no, the battleship missed. And that's when I went, what? What? I just threw all those units in there for everybody to miss? I'm not happy here. Because I know they're not going to live. I can't believe I can't believe the battleship missed. All 4 of these guys, every single one of them missed. I couldn't hit and potentially take out that AA. And of course, yeah, he took out my units. Oh, I was so disappointed in the battleship. This was me mourning this battle for a little bit, and going now second guessing my whole plan of taking out Caucasus and that 90% odds, and ah, that's a big ouch. And our bomber missed and got hit. So I paused the video for a moment because this is a point where I got rather joyous into the microphone after Caucasus, followed by this. Um, this is about as excited as I get. Yeah, I'm not a very loud shouter, but I did say some of the things closest to swear. I'm not a swear word person either. I don't know. I don't got any problem with it. I'm just not one that says it very often. I came the closest I did, and at this point, my uh, wife checked in on me to make sure I was okay, and I had to apologize to her. You missed me telling her sorry for getting extra excited. So now I just knew I was going to lose a fighter. And that's where all the hits went and the miss. So great. I'm like, great place to have the dice out of all the battles. And just getting these guys gathered up so that the transports have something to do next turn. And I did go ahead and throw an AA in there since we had such great results and make him mash his things. One thing I forgot to say is that you look at how many units he has here. He's got 13 ground plus a 2 AA in here, and the supply lines are cut through here, so he's really thin. And so yes, I am starting to think about France stacking, and when I want to go for a France stack, based on the fact that he's really thin here. I forgot to point that out last time. Straightforward there. So here we go. Six infantry for Russia. Um, I did go ahead and run the odds, and it was still favorable for me to go ahead and attack. But of course, that AA is sitting there now. I did pull out of India, even though we're facing potentially this stack here. So, but our plan is to bail out of India. Here we go. We got our 34 units versus 25. I find myself doing my dice god dance right now, even though I know what's going to happen here. So, in the Caucasus, just for reference, I believe I'm supposed to get 8 hits, and he's supposed to get 10 hits in the first round, and then wears down because I have the more units in the system. So I'm thinking 8 hits for me, 10 hits for him. 8 hits for me, 10 hits for him. And then that's going to be what makes us good or bad. And of course, this guy. Now, whew, all right, dodged a bullet. That in itself was a relief. And then look at that, 4, 8, 10 hits. I'm like, all right. 15 hits. Ugh. But I knew this is a point with the Persia retreat. I'm like, I gotta go forward. I'm not even gonna look at the calculator. I don't want to know um, what it's gonna be. We just gotta go. So we'll let this roll through. See all the lovely dice rolling. So remember, I was supposed to have 11 units surviving, and now we're looking at 3 to 5 units surviving, ground units. And so now Ukraine or Caucasus is in threat by those 5 Ukraine infantry. And so I have to sit here and decide, am I going to, should I continue? Should I retreat? Should I continue? Should I retreat? What should I do here? I know I got enough units coming up that'll be able to, 2 tanks attacking Persia's safe now at least. So that's a good thing. But he is going to have that tank, his 5 infantry, 4 bombers. Do I want to throw my tanks away? Do I want to retreat with them? I mean, just kind of going through all the different scenarios of what's going to happen after that. And me still debating. This definitely was not what I was wanting, not what I was expecting. I was expecting to land and kill and stack Caucasus, but now I can't stack and kill it. So I did decide to retreat. And so then I started looking, okay, I don't actually need him in Moscow. So could I retreat to Kazakh instead and still be stacked there so that Japan doesn't get a freebie? And so that's ultimately where I discussed that, but that's what I end up ultimately doing is deciding to retreat to Kaza there instead. So it was a positive battle in the end on that side to take away the negative of the US, and it was about even overall IPC value wise. The good news, we got our fighters there. We're pulling out to hope he doesn't attack. And I talked a little bit overall. I feel okay. I feel okay about it. But then here again, I'm looking at the IPC. So we're at a 24. Excuse me, attack power. We're now at a 24 difference. He's still at 80, so slightly lower than when we looked at it before. I hadn't actually placed my guys down yet either, so he's gonna go down to a plus 19 or 18 or whatever. So I have made up some ground on the attack power and the overall board state there. Whoops. Let's go to that. If I can survive the onslaught coming, then I'll be in a better shape, or not the onslaught, but these units, and then knowing that they're going to be coming up, he's going to be bringing tanks, and he's got all these fighters and bombers, so he's going to be coming a decent 1-2 with just how few numbers of units there are on the board altogether here, and as I talk about this, I have played my he's turned use German 6. I did my UK 6. It should have recorded fine, and that's where we're at in the game right now. So there we go. I'm sorry I had to do it this way, but hopefully that's better than just watching me click and listening to the music.